Thank you, gentlemen, for being here. This is Vishek Chauhan, and I'm back with my friends, my colleagues. And today, the topic of discussion is going to be: should you be investing in movie theaters? And we'll try and answer this question amongst all the people present here. So, just let me just introduce you to all the people here. Senior most is Raj sir here. He's from Hyderabad, needs no introduction. Sudarshan and Devi, landmark cinemas in Hyderabad. You cannot imagine Hyderabad without those two single screens.
अरे
Then we
वाह।
have Pawanji of DD Cinemas, making a grand entry into my podcast for the first time. Welcome, Pawanji, and thank you for being here and
Thank
giving
you.
us time. Pawanji is running 32 screens across the Hindi belt. He's present in Bihar, in Hajipur, across Uttar Pradesh. Now he's just come up with a property in Jaipur. Congratulations on your new property, sir.
Thank you.
And then my dearest friend Akshay Rathi needs no introduction. Akshay is a champion of single screens and he's been championing our cause since ages. So, gentlemen, who would like to go first and tell us that should you be investing in movie theaters? And I wanted to keep it as simple for someone who's wanting to enter this business. Try and answer it for them that should you be entering the movie theatrical space, and if you should, why not, etc. Your take on the same, please. Who would like to go first?
Happy to
The
go if you
champion,
want.
Akshay. Yeah,
Go
Akshay.
ahead.
Akshay, go.
Shall we? Right. See, it's a decision that's not just about whether you should and why you should. The most important aspect of this question is where should you be opening cinemas? Because it's critical to make sure that it's a mix of the right population in the pocket, which has the right disposable income levels and inclination to consume cinemas, and the demographics and psychographics of that area have to match the average palette of the kind of content that is coming out in the near future. That is what will define the kundli and the trajectory of a cinema hall. And I really believe that looking at the kind of lineup there is in 2025 for Hindi films specifically, I really genuinely believe that it's going to be a landmark here. There are going to be some iconic films which will be mega blockbusters. And after this deprivation of content that we've had over the last 2 years, where of course
Mhm.
last year we had four of these iconic big ticket Hindi films, but otherwise it wasn't a great year. And this year we had Stree, Kalki, Munja, a couple of films here and there, but otherwise, again, it's not been a very consistent year in terms of numbers. Of course, we are hoping to close it well in December with Pushpa, Baby John, Mufasa, but it's not been great. And a huge backlog of big ticket films that have been in the making is all coming out in 2025. And I really hope that with that, many more films, all the existing cinemas run to very good occupancy, and that can encourage more people to be a part of this business. And only when there are more cinemas, more revenues, will more filmmakers be incentivized to make more films. So we need to grow the pie as a fraternity, and I hope we can do that with 2025 proving to be that breakthrough year.
Yeah, Raj sir, you want to add to this?
Yeah, I can chip in a few thoughts on this. देखा गया तो prima facie movie theaters have been landmark positions where people congregate. पहले से 40 साल से अभी other revenues have come up. That's a different issue. But cinema theaters are continuing to be a place of congregation. मतलब people where they enjoy. जैसे कि मैं एक बात बताता हूँ, मेरे सीट रिपेयर करने वाला कभी कभी मेरा थिएटर में चिल्लाता है कि पब्लिक ऐसे नाच रही है, ऐसी मिसयूज कर रही है थिएटर लोगों सीटों को। तो my response to that is people are coming here to enjoy in different fashions. Different people enjoy in different fashions, with the content being the common thing amongst this 1,300, 1,400 people, right? So that we have to keep alive. I mean, that we have to keep alive, it's a different matter, but audience is also loving it. So those are the solid symptoms. जैसे कि अपन बुखार आए तो एक एजिवॉक डाल लिए तो 1.5 दिन में बुखार कम होना शुरू करता है, दिख जाता है। तो यहाँ पे it is clearly evident that cinema theaters are being loved by the audiences. There's no doubt about that. So now, I mean, single screen multiplex are a different issue. People in India, they are loving the movies being watched in the theaters actually. So now, वो देखते हुए, that is one key factor. वो देखते हुए, yes, people can come forward and invest. I would also say that based on your records, Vishek ji, last time आपने penetration of screens in America and China जो बता रहे थे,
Correct.
and that also is another important factor actually. Then the third most important factor is how profitable will it be to the guy who's investing, and what kind of investment capital would be required. Can you do a small kind of a, see, we're all single screens, right? Can somebody do a single screen is also one question which keeps lingering in my mind.
Correct.
So should it have to be a multiplex? Because people see, when we say multiplex, only the big guys can do it, right? And they're at so can it be a single screen also in nowadays? So
Correct.
what will be
That's
the
what I want to know,
profitable?
sir. That's what I want to know.
तो वो अगर अपन आंसर कर सके तो in the next few minutes I'll tell subsequently, of course, in the next chance. So it looks positive. That's the starting statement of mine.
Okay. Pawanji.
Yeah, as Akshay said, that it depends upon the location and the spending power of the people and the psychography of the people. So it a lot depends on that. There are places which is overcrowded. For example, let's say, for example, Lucknow. Lucknow has been overcrowded with multiplex with number of screens. So there is always a capacity of a particular area to cater to those to cinema audiences. So there are a lot many places in India. India is is still underserved. There are a lot of places which are virgin. For example, Odisha is virgin. Bihar is a lot of places in Bihar which needs a cinema.
Don't have to.
Moreover, I understand cinema is like a mini vacation. For a middle class family, maybe with an average income of 30,000, 40,000 per month, I think this is the best means of an outing. He cannot
Absolutely.
afford every time. He cannot afford to go to Shimla or some outside location. And everyone needs an outing. Every family, children needs an outing at least 2 times in a month. So cinema is one place where he can have a good time with food and cinema also. No other means of entertainment provides a change every week like cinema provides. Even if you go to, let's say, for example, water park. I mean, in the whole year, you will visit water park once in a year or twice maximum. But cinema gives you a chance to visit every month or maybe twice a month, depending upon the content. So what I understand, after a good survey and understanding, one should invest in cinema. Maybe multiplex obviously have an edge. Not necessary it should be in mall, but I would always suggest maybe it is a small screens, maybe 100 seaters or 150 seater. It should be at least 2 screens, I would suggest, even in rural areas or small places.
Pawanji,
Because then we can.
Pawanji, can I just interrupt you here? What is
Yeah.
exactly the cost of one screen that you are adding? So how much does the cost work out? Because people keep asking me this question कि एक screen का दाम कितना होता है बनाने का?
No, this is a very subjective question, open-ended
Right.
question. Depends upon your budget and the kind of the one basic principle of marketing is you should know your audience. I mean,
Right.
the market you are catering to.
Right.
अब for example, let's say Dabur Lal Dant Manjan, वो मॉल में नहीं बिकेगा. I mean,
Correct.
you cannot cater it to Gurgaon people.
Right.
वो नहीं खरीदेंगे. They would go for maybe close-up. So
Right.
depend आप किस ऑडियंस को cater कर रहे हो. Accordingly, you have to put in your investment.
Right.
And you can go in for आप एडमॉस लगा लो 50 लाख लग जाएगा. आप नॉर्मल साउंड सिस्टम पल्स लगा लो नॉर्मल या JBL 7.1 10-12 लाख में हो जाएगा. So depending upon the competition and the area you are catering to, the investment will vary accordingly.
Right.
Because there is a lot of investment that goes into these, like Jaipur I have developed. So I had to keep in mind the kind of audience I'm catering to and the competition like
Right.
Inox and PVR, which are available at a throw distance away, at a 5 minutes drive. So I will have to put my investment accordingly. And if I am in a monopoly area, I can go in for with a low investment also.
तो
So
फिर
it is a very
भी
subjective.
एक फिगर कितना
अगर हम मॉल में करते हैं इन अ कॉम्पिटेटिव एरिया, एटलीस्ट 1.25 CR per screen.
per screen? And
If
maximum it can
in
go
a
till how much?
maximum you can go in for 3 crores, 2.5 CR. In a mall, in a competitive area like Jaipur, Lucknow, Delhi, Gurgaon, I'm talking about.
Right.
But if we talk about like I'm playing in Eastern UP like Azamgarh, Jaunpur, or let's take for Purnia also. If it is a like Betia, I was talking to you about, we should limit our investment to around 70-75 lakhs per audience.
Hmm. Hmm. Okay.
Because if you have to break even, if you have to make profit, you have to keep your pocket tight and investments accordingly.
Hmm.
Because the people's expectation will be obviously वो चाहेंगे कि पटना की तरह हमको quality Cinepolis की quality मिले.
Correct. Correct.
But looking at the returns and the ticket prices, F&B prices, we have to strike a balance.
Right. Right. So basically, starting is 1.25 CR, and it can go up to whatever you want it to go up to.
2.5, yeah, it can go up to anything.
Okay. Okay. Then my next question to all of you is that you are in places where there is competition from national brands. You are competing against lesser brands. Like Akshay has been in a competitive market for a very long time. So have you, Pawanji, and so has Raj sir been. So someone who's entering the market fresh would like to know that if you are going competing against the PVRs of the world, the Cinepolises of the world, how do you sustain and how do you endure in front of them? Because the natural impulse would be कि अरे यहाँ पे PVR है तो मेरे में क्यों आएंगे, यहाँ पे क्यों आएंगे? So you know the logical question that people will now ask कि ठीक है 1.25 crore per screen. But if a multiplex I'm adding, the next question is how to sustain the competition from the national chains, from better, bigger brands. So anyone can go first here. Yeah.
Abhishek, बड़ा सरल सा हिसाब है, right? I'll speak about, and I'm not saying this is a rule, but the strategy we've been following is pretty simple, right? मगरमच्छ से लड़ाई करनी है तो पानी में मत करो. When it comes to the national chains, their focus has been luxury, upmarket screens, catering to the value market. The day they entered, we knew that we have to pull up our socks. So we renovated. We did a lot of things to, bring up the upkeep of the cinemas. But we did it with a focus on the volume market. The kind of demographic that cannot afford going to a PVR once a month or an Inox once a month or a Cinepolis once a month. That became the core of our, focus. And fortunately, if you look at the way the Indian market is right, I mean, there's space for every segment of the social strata to go to the cinemas. There is an Inox Insignia or a PVR Gold Class, a Cinepolis VIP, and then there are standalone cinemas where tickets sell for as low as 60-70 rupees. So, and thankfully, the volume market is 75-80% of India's population, right? So, we've been very crystal clear in making sure that we shift our focus entirely from the audience that goes to, a PVR Inox, because however much I spend, whatever I do, the economies of scale that these national chains enjoy on a lot of aggregators and partnerships, I'll never be able to do with my numbers, with my 17 cinemas. And that's why we were crystal clear, ulta chalte, and focus on the volume market, and that's thankfully paid dividends. So rather than trying to get the highest SPH out of every patron, we try to focus on the footfalls and get more people in.
So has this worked well for you in terms of getting more people into the fold? Has the pie expanded?
Absolutely. I mean, see, if you look at the national figure, right, the footfalls have actually been decreasing steadily.
Correct.
Thankfully, because of this lower, cost of movie going. I'm not just saying cost of the movie ticket. I'm saying cost of movie going. F&B for us has been reasonable, where we don't price anything above 120 rupees as an SKU. Ticket prices are average ticket prices 120 rupees on, in general. And there are segments of the auditorium where it's lower. There are segments which is higher, but that's the average. And that is something that most people who want to step out into the cinemas can definitely afford. And that's actually worked well in allowing us to sustain.
Okay, Raj sir, you wanted to add to this?
यहाँ पे ये थिएटर में नहीं, वो थिएटर में देख लूंगा बोल के ऑडियंस का बिहेवियर दिख गया, तो उसको ध्यान में रखते हुए we can say big screens, small screens can coexist because audience का मतलब there's a large capacity of जैसे कि I would also say like in Los Angeles, Pasadena और Beverly Hills पूरे अमीर लोग रहते हैं, वैसा अपना सिटियों में नहीं है, काफी मिलजुल के है। ऐसा नहीं है कि एरिया में यही चलेगा, तो काफी मिलजुल के एक बड़ा हाई हाई एंड सोसाइटी के बाजू में लो एंड भी रहता है। सो दैट्स आवर डिस्ट्रीब्यूशन इन इंडिया। सो टेकिंग एडवांटेज ऑफ दैट, I think we can get a little close to a multiplex and both भी चलेंगे. That's what I feel.
Sir, my question to you is that you are surrounded by the Prasads, the
Yes.
AMVs, the Allu
Yes.
Arjuns, the most
Yeah.
luxurious theaters. The question is, why do people in Hyderabad still come to a Sudarshan and a Devi? How have you managed to maintain that, that factor by, being in the most competitive markets in India? Hyderabad is definitely the most screened market. In terms of pricing, it was very, very competitive. In that space, you are still running a single screen successfully and giving out great numbers. How have you managed to do that? And that is, I think, what the viewers would like to know कि भाई इतने competitive शहर में प्रसाद बगल में है, आईमैक्स है, पीवीआर है, सिनेपोलिस है, अल्लू अर्जुन का सिनेमा है, महेश बाबू का सिनेमा है, फिर भी राज सर इज मैनेजिंग टू मेंटेन द एज फॉर सुदर्शन एंड देवी।
Yeah, उसका I would also say, I was thinking while you're questioning, उसका अपना इंडिया का पॉपुलेशन भी हेल्प कर रहा है। Our Indian cities are very well distributed and
Right.
large in numbers. तो ये भी चलेगा, वो भी चलेगा। And our distribution thought process on demand बहुत बदल गया। People who are been in the business can tell that long time ago 4 weeks was a flop, but today 4 दिन चले तो भी मस्त है। 4 दिन में पैसे आ रहे, 4 दिन में पैसे आ रहे कि नहीं प्रोड्यूसरों को आ रहे। That means all of them are wanting to see. So our screen density is not enough. It cannot be enough to consume all the population. क्योंकि वो एरिया का पॉपुलेशन एक 5 लाख रहता, वो एरिया का पॉपुलेशन एक 2 लाख रहता। 2 लाख seat can be consumed. I feel, Vishek ji, Akshay, I feel if you make a 4-lane highway, 4 lane भर जाएगा 2 साल में. If you make a 8-lane highway, 8 lane भी भर जाएगा. तो वैसा मेरे को लगता है. I think we should head towards more penetration of screens, and that can, and our cities can digest. It'll make them. So पूरा एक ही दिन को आएगा शायद. पवन जी, पूरा एक ही दिन को आएगा शायद बिजनेस. आज तो 3 दिन 4 दिन का है ना, तो पूरा एक ही दिन को आएगा। उतना तो कोई मल्टीप्लेक्स, ओनली हाई एंड फ्यू स्क्रीन्स विल नॉट सस्टेन। एंड विद रेस्पेक्ट टू, आई फील विद रेस्पेक्ट टू ओटीटी और डिप्रिवेशन ऑफ कंटेंट, एज अक्षय सेड राइटली, और एआई, परसों एक परप्लेक्सिटी एआई का कोई यूट्यूब पे डिस्कशन देख रहे थे, आगे मूवी मेकिंग इज गोइंग टू बिकम मोर एंड मोर इजियर सपोजिटली। तो डेफिनेटली कंटेंट हफ्ते को एक आएगा शायद। बस वाओ, एज पवन जी सेड, वी आर द बेस्ट फॉर्म ऑफ एंटरटेनमेंट। In fact, I feel, will we get faded out, our theaters? No, because every week there's a new hero. It's his job to get the audience in, right? So we are in a best position to increase our density. I don't know if I've answered your question, Vishek.
No, sir, you have. Sir, and one more thing I want to know, that in terms of Sudarshan and Devi, if I had to really ask you 3 things that have kept the audiences coming back for more, so that the people who are listening to this can be confident, keep opening a single screen and they can sustain. I want to know 3 things that single screen should do.
Cleanliness. People want some clean environment,
right?
Which projects that these people who are maintaining are interested in, they respect the customer. जैसे कि दुकान में कोई गया, वेटर बोलेगा क्या होना, फिर कहीं को आए बोले तो वैसा नहीं ना, yes sir, what do you want, give a papad or something. So the interest, cleanliness is one thing, and technical standards is one thing, actually technical standards. And आप सही बोले, तीसरा thing economics, तीसरा thing actually important things.
Hygiene, technical, and pricing.
Absolutely.
Perfect. Pawan ji.
As Akshay said rightly, that with the pricing you can attract more audience, because India is 80% of mass audience, and but I must say that what elite audience wants the mass audience also wants the same in terms of quality. They don't want to really compromise. So we can coexist on one factor is we provide somehow somewhat near to that quality in technical terms like projection, sound, and seats. These are three very important factors because most of the time an audience spends is inside the auditorium most of the time. So these three things are inside the auditorium, which are very critical for him to sustain, to keep repeating, so that he comes back again. F&B has been very important factor because I have seen people they come कि यार वहाँ का बर्गर बहुत अच्छा है चल वहीं चलते हैं खाने तो हाँ भाई वहाँ का
Interesting
पॉप
factor.
हाँ वहाँ का पॉपकॉर्न बहुत अच्छा है या वहाँ चीज पॉपकॉर्न हम खाएंगे यार सस्ता भी मिलता है और अच्छा भी है so with these factors keeping in mind we can coexist. What my point was that we should not open next to these multiplexes so that if we are opening a new cinema, we should really avoid. We have a limited budget, like suppose I have 2 crores to invest. So why not? We have 5 options. So why not choose that option which is best for us? Why go in for next to Magarmach? I mean to say that. हाँ अगर हमारे पास और ऑप्शंस हैं तो we should deploy our funds which can give us maximum returns which
Right.
place can give us maximum returns and with the disposal income increasing you can see I think Raji is very old in terms of experience मुझे भी याद है बचपन में हमारा सिंगल स्क्रीन 1960 का है एंड आई वाज बोर्न इन 1977 तो मैं देखता था साइकिल्स बहुत होती थी हमारा 840 सीटर होता था तो आई वॉज वेरी फाउंड ऑफ काउंटिंग दी साइकिल तो मुझे याद है 200 250 साइकिल हो जाती थी व्हेन इट वाज हाउसफुल 840 सीट but with the time now you can see the motorcycles have taken place and now cars are taking now पहले उस समय मुझे ये भी लगता था कि अगर 2 कार भी आ जाती थी ना मुझे लगता था कि यार बहुत बड़ी पिक्चर है लगता है कार से आई है पब्लिक देखने तो हाँ तो आज के सिनेरियो में लोग कार वाले ज्यादा होने लगे हैं एंड डाउन द टाइम मे बी 5 years डाउन द लाइन और 10 years you'll see cars will be more than motorcycles so what I mean to say what I wanted to say is the disposal income is increasing and as the disposal income is increasing people will go every week they want to spend out somewhere with the family and as I earlier said also that it is a where you get a change every week and in times to come the cinema business will increase with the disposal income increasing
Is that see Akshay and Raj sir are single screen. I am also single screen. You are competing in terms of
I'm a
multiplexes head on with the PVRs and the Cinepolises and the Mirages of the world. So someone who wants to open a new multiplex somewhere where there is existing national players, what are the 3, 4 things that he needs to keep in mind in order to survive and be profitable?
one thing is we need to match their quality in terms of seating the aesthetics and the food quality and we have to keep prices at least 30 to 40% lower to them not in ticket prices but in F&B.
Okay. So quality needs to
These
be
are
matched.
quality needs to match in terms of technicals and services. Like Raj sir said, that hygiene is very important, especially for woman audience, the better half you can say, or the fairer gender you can say, they want hygiene. I mean, for men, hygiene is not a very big concern, but for woman audience, if you want to attract the woman audience, hygiene is very important factor.
Yeah. Akshay, you were adding something to it.
Yeah, I mean, something that Pavanji spoke about actually got me thinking. If you remember back in the day, right, before the multiplexes had come in, and the aspect of standardization came in, where a PVR property or an Inox property in a Bombay looks very similar to what it is in Delhi versus, even a a property of the two properties of these chains in the same city are pretty much alike in terms of a lot of their offerings. If you remember back in the day when all of us started operating, at least like I can speak for Nagpur, right? People used to actually say कि यार वो स्मृति का समोसा बहुत अच्छा है, उसके लिए वहां चलते हैं. Your Liberty Cinema का veg puff बहुत अच्छा है. So there used to be these very unique small offerings that actually became the extended identity for a lot of screens in cinemas, right? Like even among multiplexes, if you remember Satyam Cinema, which was a chain in Tamil Nadu before PVR acquired it, had phenomenal footfalls where people used to proactively choose Satyam for the unique popcorn offerings they had, where there was no cheese or caramel or salted flavored popcorn. There was basic popcorn that was given, which had absolutely no flavor, and bottles of different kind of condiments were kept there for you to make your mix of whatever flavor you want out of it. And that is something that the people of Chennai used to absolutely love, which unfortunately now in the standardization process has gone out of play. So these unique offerings, unique aesthetics, unique food and beverage angles, the unique screen curvatures, all of that, I think is something that's really gone out of the window, and I find that to be very unfortunate. I really wish that all of us, rather than following that vanilla vignette matchbox format, which everyone's right now replicating, I really wish that we can be a little more unique with our aesthetics, be a little more localized. Like I'll give you an example, and I was absolutely in awe. Right, in if I remember it right, near Pondicherry, there's an area called Kadlor, and one of our friends whom we know in common, Mr. G.R. Durairaj, he has a bunch of cinemas there, and I happened to visit him at one of his cinemas called Krishnale. Vishek, I kid you not, the offerings were so amazing in terms of one, the forget about everything. When you walk in, the fragrance that was uniquely there across the entire premise from where you enter right up to the auditoriums. The मोगरे के फूल की खुशबू, which is not with any essence or any kind of room freshener. They actually had flowers laden out everywhere. They had a phenomenal gallery of some of the most iconic movies that were, a part of Tamil cinema, which is like a museum of sorts. They, as a policy, don't do PepsiCo and Coke on the grounds of, the better health for their patrons, and they have their own unique beverages from fresh nariyal pani to fresh juices. If they are children and toddlers, there's actually fresh hot milk they offer. If they are toddlers, they actually have a section in the balcony with a cradle and a silent room for mothers and toddlers. Now, these sort of things are phenomenal, I think, and the fact that some people are still upholding these sort of specializations and these unique offerings, I wish we could all do them in our own ways for the kind of markets that we operate within the patrons we do this with. And that would be so much fun. The last time I remember doing this, if you remember when Dabang had released, right? Munni Badnaam was in absolute rage, and we figured that the whole auditorium is turning into a discotheque. Day two, we made sure that in the auditorium, we got disco lights installed. And when the song played out, those came on and it became a huge bloody party. So now these are small, unique things that become a part of people's memories. They've really enjoyed this. And that's what makes them, really patronize those cinema halls and, value those little additional experiences that we offer to them. And that, I think, has gone missing in this day and age. Ras nikal gaya hai, and I really hope we can bring that back in.
This was done in Hum Aapke Kaun also. The disco lights wala. Hum Aapke Kaun also, it was also done. We did it in
screen ke we'd actually done to go into a discotheque. We'd done those disco balls and all of that. So through the auditorium, where the audience is dancing and celebrating, it literally became a party. And that was so heartening to watch an audience having a blast. No, like unabashed.
I remember we did it in Hum Aapke Kaun in Didi Tera Devar Deewana song. And we have all around the screen these disco lights, multicolored lights. And it was a rage. I mean, people used to like really enjoy, throw money also.
My next thing is that, do you think that single screen owners across the country are not so innovative in terms of the food offerings, especially in North India? And I think you think they are losing out on big opportunities by not expanding into this whole food, this whole taking themselves seriously as a food entity also, because they restrict themselves to ticket sales and they are not able to go out and sell more food and be more focused on food. Do you think this is happening and this needs to change for the better so that single screens become more viable in terms of the profitability and the ROI?
Yeah.
Yeah, Pawanji.
Yeah. First of all, what I understand about, according to my experience and thing, not there are anomalies also, but most of the single screen owners, uh, they are not getting out of those old tradition ki public to aayegi hi aayegi, and they consider their mentality is कि public तो पैसा नहीं देना चाहती, पिक्चर नहीं देखना चाहती, this that. वो अपने उसमें नहीं झांकते हैं. What they are providing is the old seats, non-air condition, unhygienic people. So they do not want to invest into those their screens. Their mentality is कि अब ये सिनेमा business मर चुका है.
Okay.
So they don't want to invest. But what I understand, even I started with a single screen in 2015, a small single screen, which I converted a big single screen into a small single screen. We have balcony, so I converted the balcony into 239-seater single screen, and with the same aesthetic value like the multiplexes are providing, with the same quality of sound and production and seat and carpet. In 2015, in the contemporary scenario, things have been upgraded, obviously. But 10 years back, what the public wanted or my nearest competitor in Allahabad had, I provided the same quality, and I did tremendous business. Looking at the response, which I was also apprehensive because all the single screens were closed down. There were single screens in my area, Pratapgarh, and everyone had closed down. And I was reinvesting, so people used to call me that this guy has gone mad or something. He's reinvesting in cinemas when everyone has closed down. And looking at the response, I thought this is my business. I mean, I should extend this business. Then I opened in Raebareli, Balrampur, Azamgarh, Sultanpur. So I kept rest is history and like kept expanding, and we are expanding, and we are coming out with 20 more screens in 2025.
Wow.
Excellent.
So
Excellent.
I'm really enjoying. So I mean, what I want to convey is with one small single screen, 239-seater single screen, I haven't made it into 32 screens. So anybody can do it. If I can do it, anybody can do it. So it is obviously a profitable business. That's why I have done it from 1 to 32. So what I want to say that it is one should go in for business, but with an intelligent decision should be made, not an haphazard decision. I should do a proper survey, market survey, and then invest.
Sir, is your chain making money on a regular basis? Overall profitability?
So one simple example, I have, I'm free of all this thing. I have no debt. मेरा बस एक working capital loan है bank से, that is only 27 है. This is the only loan which I have, 27 lakhs out of 32 screens. So you can understand whether I'm running in profit or not.
No, the reason why I asked this is because the biggest player in the country, PVR Inox, and I think they have close to 2,000 screens in this country. This calendar year, they've reported in the 3 quarters that have gone, the Jan to March, March to until September, they have reported a loss of roughly 300 crore plus. So that's the PVR losses overall. And these figures are given out in public, and there is a perception, there is a large perception that if the biggest player is not making any money, PVR Inox is not making any money, so how can the single screens be making money? Yesterday, a journalist called me and she said, how will Pushpa revive the single screen cinemas of this country? I said, there is a problem in your question. You should say that how will Pushpa revive theaters in this country? Because even PVR Inox is making losses. So if multiplexes are not making any money, then why are you putting it down that only single screens are going in losses? So please correct. Say how will it revive theaters in this country, because theaters across are struggling. So my question to you guys is that this negative perception that is built, that PVR is constantly losing money. Then you hear stories of across the globe of AMC, Regal, and many more chains across, that there is a lot of stress. So do you think that with this kind of a public perception, how do you convince someone that you should be investing in this business? Yeah, Akshay.
Vishek, I'll tell you a very simple thing, right? I mean, whenever I meet my friends at PVR, it's a bit of a common joke between me and them, where I say that the way I operate and the way you operate, the basic simple difference is, आपका जो प्रोजेक्टर है, you own that, बाकी सब आपका भाड़े का है, including the real estate and everything else. और मेरे यहाँ प्रोजेक्टर रेंट पे है, बाकी सब मेरा खुद का है, which I own, which is primarily the real estate, right? Now, Vishek, here's the simple thing. Technically, all of us who own single screens are not primarily in the business of film exhibition. We are in the business of real estate, right?
Correct.
That piece of land that we own on which this property is built, of course, the revenues from the cinema are not proportionate anywhere to the value of the land. But then the appreciation that the land is having in our books over a period of time is truly the wealth that we are building. And compared to that, the lease deeds of many of the national chains and the multiplex properties, which in good times were assets, in bad times become liabilities that can be a bit of a debt trap, especially in times of the pandemic and after, where businesses become so uncertain. And the second thing about this narrative that you said, Vishek, is now, unfortunately, the market leader in terms of the national chains is PVR Inox, and rightfully so. Now, what's happened is because the national chains, to communicate with them, journalists need to make two calls and they pretty much reach out to everyone. Versus that, there's no one unified body that represents all the single screens in the country. Unfortunately, all of us speak in different voices, often contradicting each other. And that's the reason why PVR Inox Cinepolis have been able to build a consistent narrative where the perception through the PR that they've done, the marketing they've done, is that the future of exhibition is multiplex, that single screens will die out. And you hear very often, in a lot of these articles, whatever statements they are, right, where there are journalists and others who are saying that, single screens are towards the fag end of their trajectory or whatever. Now, unfortunately, that's happening because all of us have not been able to consistently build a narrative together. And when you don't build your own narrative, you become a victim of the narrative that somebody else is setting. So correct. I really think it's critical, Vishek, that all of us, and I'm glad you are doing this podcast, I'm glad all of us are now at least a part of multiple forums, multiple, publications that cover us, right, where we are actually being able to at least slowly and steadily in our own small capacity, being able to build a narrative around how the independent cinema sector is also significant. Correct. Out of the 9,200 cinemas there are, over 6,000 cinemas are single screens, independent multiplexes and standalones. Right? Absolutely. In terms of the overall revenues for films, it's not like the national chains are contributing 80-90% and everything else is insignificant. There is a significant chunk of revenues we contribute, and this narrative, I think, needs to consistently be put out. And that's when the question that the journalist asked you will become a little more rational and practical and relevant.
Akshay, my next thing is that why do you think as an exhibitor, because you are very you've been very vocal about your views, and you've been traveling across the country, realizing, meeting lots of people. Why do you think the national chain of this country, because that is the question that people would want to know, why are they losing money?
I mean, Vishek, I primarily believe it's because of the model. I mean, the operational costs are so high, and especially the real estate cost, right? For a lot of them, in this day and age, is almost prohibitive. Because for a developer who makes a mall where they exist, right, there needs to be a minimal revenue that they require out of that floor, which is significantly high. And on those sort of outflows and overheads, I think it's practically unfeasible for cinema halls to sustain with this inconsistent, quality of content that's coming in. And that's why I truly believe that many of the old school models of doing business were actually very sound and pragmatic. Of course, growth was a little slower in terms of adding the number of screens, but you at least were hedging the lack of revenues from the cinema income with that appreciation of real estate that's happening. On that real estate, when you own it, you have the rights to do so many more things. Like in the pandemic and soon after, we realized that okay, the footfalls for the movies are a little staggered. Since I own that real estate, I could build cricket turfs. I could build and get in, many external vendors for food and beverages, which I didn't allow serving inside the auditorium, but in the premise outside to people who may or may not be watching a film. So the outlook towards that real estate changed from it being a cinema to being a recreation premise. And that allowed me all that ability to pivot and create these new avenues of income. For a multiplex which operates in an XYZ mall, for them to get these sort of external vendors and other things, they require permissions of the developer, which very often don't come. And that's why they are only dependent on the cinema income, the food and beverage income, the on-screen ad sales. Compared to that, we can actually create so many more avenues because we own the real estate. And that is, I truly believe, a phenomenal model.
Pawanji, on to you.
I would add to.
Yeah. Why are these big players burning their pockets? Why do you think so?
I would add to Akshay. One thing is after Corona period, the business is 30 to 40% down. Now, on what terms they had taken the property, obviously it does not match with the current top line, you can say. Moreover, their overhead is very high as compared to our single screen or small screen. I mean, maybe the MD of that he must be drawing 5 CR salary per month, and we do not draw anything. So that what matters. CEO of the company is doing that much. So they should cut down on these overheads and renegotiate with the multiplex or the developer, and they will be in profit. It is a simple mathematics, you can say.
Pawanji, my next question is extension. Let's say I'm a mall developer and you are constantly renegotiating with me that, I want to pay you lesser, I want to pay you lesser. Then I will reach a point where I will tell you that I don't want you at all. That I can give it to F&B, I can give it to a gaming zone, I can give it to VR, I can give it to, other sources, I can build a banquet. Why should I entertain a cinema where today an article has come? Let me just complete. Today an article has come, which was shared in the group also, that the footfalls that multiplexes are contributing to a mall's overall pie is down from 12% to 5-6%. 6% was the number. And mall owners are reducing the cinema space that they used to allocate earlier. So my question is that is the model overall, and this is to all of you, is the multiplex model somewhere going wrong? And how can someone who's entering the business kind of tweak it to be very suitable? And Pawanji, I would like to begin with you.
No, the model is not right. First of all, the multiplex takes the fourth or the top floor, which is, which no F&B would probably go in for. The fifth floor. The most important factor with the cinema is it is a crowd killer. It gives the developer a non-tangible benefit, not in terms of revenue, but it brings the crowd to the property, which converts into other sales also, not only ticket sales, but the retail sales also. So cinema, yes, if they want to reduce this thing, cinema developers should reduce the number of seats or number of screens we can do by maybe rather than developing a 6-screen property and go for a 3-screen property or something. So there are a lot of non-tangible benefits with the cinema in the mall. If there is no cinema in the mall, I can give you many examples. With the closing of cinema, the mall has ultimately died. The mall has ultimately died. So whether it gives you revenue according to your investment or not, but there is a lot of non-tangible benefits which is attached with that property. So I think cinema is it is a big anchor store.
Okay, Raj sir, going on to you. Has the
जी
multiplex model gone wrong?
No, we can't say that. Would you say that in any particular aspect it has gone wrong? The only aspect would be pricing to the customer. That's all, because it is really, really pinching the customer. जैसे कि एक स्त्री 2 का the most scariest part was the price of the popcorn. Movie was a wait that वैसा that's the only thing I think multiplex could be failing, which is with a reason. Otherwise, unless they do their high SPH, etc., they won't be viable because they are investing now in this time, right? Everything is hyped up, etc. Whereas otherwise, I don't see people throng to multiplexes also. Only pricing is the issue. क्योंकि clean है, latest technology है, एक pricing each है. So I don't think multiplexes are failing with respect to the audience. Again, I would say, okay. When again, if you
No, then the next thing is that Akshay very rightly pointed, and it got me thinking that, multiplexes in a mall, the either you have the F&B as the source of revenue or primarily the ticket sales as a source of revenue. Now, Akshay brings a very interesting facet that, owning the recreational aspect of it too, say like gaming, say like, other F&B, like the food court, the gaming aspect. So this leads me to another direction, that should you be operating in a mall or should you be operating standalone going forward? Because right now we have only 9,000 screens. And just to give the viewers a number, United States of America has 40,000 screens plus, China has 80,000. Smaller countries with lesser population, much lesser, even a country like South Korea, which has a population of 5 crores, has 2,700 screens. Australia, England, everybody. The density of screens, India is one screen per 1.5 lakh. United States of America is one screen per 8,500. So my question is that going forward, if someone is investing, should they be into the complete value chain? And I would like to begin with Akshay. Going forward, Akshay, you can please start with this one.
Sure. Well, to each his own, right? I mean, about the whole model being right or wrong, which you asked previously, I am old school. I'm not somebody who really believes in the valuation game. And I truly believe that companies across sectors now, true valuation is coming actually out of net profitability, which unfortunately many of our cinema chains are not being able to generate right now. So I think everyone will have to focus towards tweaking the model to a scenario where net profitability becomes paramount. And about the question you asked about being a more integrated recreational solution, I don't know if the real estate developers where these cinema halls are, where these multiplexes are, would want to give that to cinema operators unless they deploy serious capex again. And I'm not sure if they're in a position to deploy serious capex at this point of time, given what their PNL looks like. But yes, I truly believe that the other thing that's happening is by having that the entire source of revenues dependent only on the people who buy a ticket to a movie, we are actually alienating and depriving a large audience of being able to consume whatever we offer, right? For the simple reason that nobody comes to watch a great cinema foyer or to look at phenomenal speakers or a damn good projector. People come to watch a good film, right? And that is a product that's not in our hands. We are dependent on an external entity. And more often than not, the strike rate in terms of success of films and appeal is sub 10% in any fraternity, be it Telugu, Hindi, Malayalam, Kannada, Tamil, whatever. So that I truly believe is a bit scary, and I really think that we need to pivot aggressively towards other formats. And I also think that the real estate that all of us own as single screens, right? With theatrical entertainment getting more larger than life, more getting more spectacle value and immersive viewing experience angles for better footfalls. I don't know how many multiplexes or how many spaces in malls allow you that IMAX screen or that 80 feet wide screen. But many single screens in the country have the ability in the real estate and volume to repurpose themselves into something like IMAX or Epic or, give that experience of 800 people sitting together and cheering for a Prabhas or a Salman Khan or a Vijay or an Ajit. So I really think that if we can up the standards and more importantly market the phenomenal movie going experience, the community viewing experience that single screens are probably the best at offering, we will.
If Pushpa 2 was to be releasing in 6,000 screens, instead of 6,000 screens, it would have been great if it was 15,000 screens. It would have definitely been more profitable to the producer. So, one thing what I feel actually, the stepmotherly treatment is not from the audience's side, it's from the film industry side only, that by building a different narrative, etc., etc. So audience ka to koi farak, they love all kind of screens, right? So what I feel is, we have large capacity. We can come up with more screens, and summing it up, Pushpa 2 or Game Changer, if it is releasing in instead of 7,000 screens, 22,000 screens in the country, probably 4 years later, it will be much more profitable. So that's where the pan India movies should juice out. That's what I feel. Yeah, there's a lot of scope. So people
Pawanji,
can invest.
Pawanji, going on to you.
Yeah.
You also probably are running a few standalone properties which are not part of any multiplex, and those are multi-screen properties also. Like you and Ashutosh ji both are running such properties. My question to you is that you are in a mall also, you are outside the mall also. What is the difference? Should people open inside malls or should they open standalone properties? What is the difference?
There is one major difference. In a mall, it is like a combo. A family goes in, it gets the gaming zone also, food outlets also, like McD. Maybe someone wants to eat in Domino's, the branded stores. So it gives you a complete entertainment. And a person, a family coming for a movie can eat also, play also, and watch also. Whereas in standalone cinemas, we are only offering one thing, that is movie watching. We do not have branded stores, shopping experience, or food experience we're not giving. So that is one major difference. And some standalone cinemas, like mine only, there are some parking issues also because it is in a congested lane, or because it was built in 1960 when the crowd was less. Now that road is very congested. So people with car avoid going into that congested lane. So that is the problem with standalone. That is the difference between the multiplex and this thing. Because they are providing, to be honest, a mall is providing wholesome experience. I mean, you can do shopping also, you can eat also, you can play also, you can work also. So you can spend your whole Sunday or a holiday there in the mall. Good mall maybe, not all malls, or some more. Most of the malls are now, I mean, ghost malls or maybe 50% occupancy.
No, my extension is what is the difference? What is the percentage difference between a
Okay.
standalone multiplex and a multiplex inside a mall?
In terms of footfall or revenue, you're saying?
Footfall, revenue, whichever you want to share.
Footfall, like I have some standalone cinemas, they are in monopoly centers. So the footfall and revenue obviously is very good there.
Yeah, where
But if
you
I
are
am
in a competitive space.
because there is no option for the public now. I mean, if they want to watch Pushpa, they have no option.
Monopoly.
But in the monopoly center. If there is a mall besides me, maybe 2-3 kilometers away or 5 kilometers away, obviously the difference is double in terms of revenue, and obviously in terms of revenue, footfall is more or less same because we play on lower pricing. Suppose their pricing is 200, so our pricing is 120, 130. So in terms of revenue, obviously they are higher than us. In terms of footfall, the difference is less.
Yeah, sir. Raj, sir.
Sir, मेरे को 10 minutes ago, Akshay was mentioning about SPH and all, and the earlier generation of cinema theater owners, which is what single screen guys are actually, have been ignorant about many terms. In fact, कई बार मैं SPH का term भी नहीं मालूम लोगों को actually. They just moved on like that, right? Whereas the new age cinema screens and all have really did their best at pulling out the maximum SPH by offering very good variety of beverages and food and beverages items actually. So that is where we should get in actually. So sir, Pawan sir, आप जैसा बोल रहे थे, the audience who's coming into a multiplex or a single screen, they want to do one or two things, maximum 90% people. Food is the most common thing which happens with movies. Shopping, sir, I have a question to you. What kind of percentage does shopping and watch movies? Because that's where it's
Okay,
helping.
I'm not talking about only monetary shopping where you physically buy a material. I'm
हाँ
talking
हाँ
about window shopping. People
हाँ,
love
वो तो है.
window shopping where you do not have to spend. Moreover, one more thing, in a mall, if you reach even 1 hour earlier, you have place to loiter around in a air-conditioned space.
Absolutely.
Whereas in single screen, we cannot have so much space. We do not have where we can make entry of the people. And even if he enters 1 hour earlier,
You'll
apart
suffer.
from you'll suffer, apart from watching your mobile or watching reels, what do you have to do in a single screen in a standalone cinema?
तो वो
In a
एडिशनल
mall,
रिक्रिएशन क्रिएट करना चाहिए, राइट?
additional, हाँ, वो उसको फ्री में मिलता है. विंडो शॉपिंग करना है, सामान देखना है, ट्राई भी कर लेगा. ट्राई भी कर लेगा, उतार देगा, नहीं पसंद आया कोई बात नहीं है.
You know,
So whereas in standalone cinema, these kind of recreations are not there.
let
वहां
me.
पे जाता है, सेल्फी भी लेता है. Yeah.
I think we are going into a beautiful direction here in terms of consumer behavior. I think that is something that insight that people would love to listen to. Do you think that cinema is no longer an impulse buy? By an impulse buy, I mean that people don't decide on an instance. Cinema today has become a planned purchase. That people plan in advance, that people plan very meticulously to watch a movie in a group or with friends or family, that it is no longer an impulse कि अभी कोई पोस्टर देखा और घुस गए जैसे पहले होता था. That everybody used to just walk in around, अरे ये पिक्चर लगी चलो, या अभी 15 मिनट में डिसाइड किया और चले गए. Now the whole process of actually watching a movie, has it become a completely planned purchase, or it is still, do you think that it is an impulse buy, that people decide on an impulse or a whim कि चलो पिक्चर देखते हैं? Do you think what kind of mix there is happening, because the whole consumer behavior will change? And Akshay, I would like to begin with you on this one.
Rashik, I think where it's gone now, right? I mean, we've in terms of perception, more than the reality, projected the movie going experience as a luxury, unfortunately. Because the only, like I said, narrative that's been set is by a particular segment of the exhibition sector. And that is more often than not justified high pricing, which doesn't essentially apply to all, but that's the perception.
I think it has become more convenient for people to decide whether to watch a movie or not, a particular movie, because of the social media and various other means of getting the feedback. In the earlier days, if it was like a Amitabh Bachchan movie, it used to take 3-4 days to get the final report की movie कैसी है. तब तक वो कमा के अपना जो भी था, because there were limitation of screens also and there were limitation of prints also, because the print cost was very costly. I mean, 50,000, 60,000 was the print cost at that time.
And the
So
communication
now
between audience also was slow then.
was slow. The only media, it was only word of mouth. And newspaper and news channel obviously were very few that time. So, but now people get by the end of the first show, people get to know कि picture कैसी है. Because telecommunication से मैंने आपको फोन कर दिया, राज जी पिक्चर कैसी लगी, आपने बता दिया. Earlier there were only landlines.
रेव्यू पूरा तत्काल स्कीम में पूरे हजारों को लाखों को हजार आए.
आ गया. एंड रही बात वो जो आपने कहा कि पहले 3-4 दिन में कितने लोग देखते थे, अब कितने देखते हैं. पहले 3-4 दिन में भी 10% देखना चाहते थे, लेकिन टिकट नहीं मिलती थी. आज टिकट मिल जाती है. और बिकॉज ऑफ द नंबर ऑफ सीट्स, पहले क्या है, जैसे फॉर एग्जांपल मैं इलाहाबाद की बात करूं, बड़े शहर की बात करूं, इलाहाबाद की, पहले सिर्फ एक सिंगल स्क्रीन में लगती थी पिक्चर पूरे इलाहाबाद में, या 2 में लग गई. out of 20 single screens, अगर शोले लगनी है तो सिर्फ एक सिंगल स्क्रीन में लगेगी
जी
आउट ऑफ 20. बट आज क्या है, वो 20 के 20 में लग रही है.
तो उस दिन
तो
अगर
what I,
डिजिटल होता तो उस दिन जब डिजिटल होता तो उस दिन भी 20 लगती थी.
हाँ 20 में
तो
20
डिमांड था
लगती,
शायद.
बिकॉज नहीं, डिमांड तो था, बट प्रिंट कॉस्ट इतनी ज्यादा थी कि 20 प्रिंट्स एक जगह आप कैसे लगाते.
इनेबिलिटी थी.
हाँ, फिर आप
वही
उतने
वही
प्रिंट्स
करेक्ट.
आप बना करके आउट ऑफ 2 वीक, आफ्टर 2 वीक्स उस प्रिंट को आप स्टॉक कहाँ करोगे? वेयर हाउस खरीदो.
बिकॉज ऑफ
हाँ,
इनेबिलिटी ओनली.
वेयर हाउस खरीदो आप ऑल इंडिया अगर 9,000 स्क्रीन में लगाओगे तो 9,000 प्रिंट्स चाहिए. तो
नहीं
9,000 को आप एक महीने बाद तो वो डंप है.
एब्सोल्युटली एब्सोल्युटली आई
एक महीने
अंडरस्टैंड
बाद तो वो डंप है. इवन इन ओल्डर टाइम्स एक महीने बाद इफ इट इज अ फ्लॉप मूवी एंड द परसेंटेज ऑफ सक्सेस इन अर्लियर डेज was
लेस देन
सेम
5.
एज टुडे. सेम
लेस
एज
देन
टुडे.
5.
पहले भी लेस देन 5 था. आप उठा के देख लो.
जी
आपको
जी
सिर्फ वो पिक्चरें याद है जो सुपर हिट है. जो फ्लॉप है वो तो किसी को याद ही नहीं है.
करेक्ट यू आर राइट.
जो फ्लॉप है किसी को याद नहीं है. तो दैट इज वाई हमको सिर्फ वो याद है कि जो सक्सेस है, और हमको लगता था कि सक्सेस 100% है.
So,
और जो फ्लॉप है उसका तो नाम ही नहीं सुना ही है हमने.
so
Yes.
let's
तो
just let's just do the
मैं एक पॉइंट
closing.
और कहना चाहता
हाँ बोलिए ना.
हूँ. एक पॉइंट और कहना. पहले हम कहते थे कि मूवी ने सिल्वर जुबली की 25 वीक्स, राइट. 25 इंटू 28 कर लीजिए, मान लीजिए 700 शोज हुए अप्रोक्सीमेटली. तो 700 शोज हमने कितने दिन में किया? 25 हफ्ते में किया. आज 700 शोज तो हम 2 हफ्ते में कर ले रहे हैं.
करेक्ट करेक्ट
तो
करेक्ट.
अगर तो आप देखा जाए तो सिल्वर जुबली तो हमने 2 हफ्ते में कर ली.
करेक्ट करेक्ट.
So now what
तो
we'll do,
हाँ,
sir, now what we'll do is that everyone probably has to like move on. So we'll just like
हाँ,
what we'll do is we'll take the closing remarks on the main topic that should you be investing in movie theaters or not, and whatever you want to conclude and put it into the whole or your argument and finish it off. So Akshay, we'll begin with you, so you can take this and close it off.
Right. First topic. Well, I truly believe that given the biggest strength of the Indian market, which is the 140 crore people that we have, right, and a rapidly rising and increasing middle class of the social strata, which I truly believe is the biggest consumer strength that we have in the market. I absolutely think that growth of this sector is poised to happen. Of course, it will be driven by the quality of content that's made. The format will change, the technology will keep changing, and we, as exhibitors, have to keep evolving with the changing times, and we cannot afford to get redundant in terms of catering to the right consumption patterns and providing the right tech and the right needs of the patrons today. And the second thing is, I think with the whole, the way the globe is shrunk, where people across the country have access to what are the kind of entertainment avenues that are available across the world, we need to make sure that we give them a lot of what they are aspiring for, which could be things from across the world, which could be a interesting VR section, which could be a good gaming zone, which could be anything else in our properties, to make sure that our footfalls are great. If we can do that, and if we can follow a commercial model that is sound financially, and that hedges the cinema income, the ticketing income, with other avenues of revenues, I see no reason why this business is ever going to die out. And I truly hope that more people come in to be a part of it for the right reasons, rather than playing a value, मतलब बनाएंगे, पैसे bleed करेंगे, evaluate करके बेच देंगे, cannot be the thought process anymore. It has to be a long drawn,
Long play.
profitability centric model. And I truly hope that more people can work towards that, and especially in the tier 2, tier 3 markets, where the avenues of recreation are far too few. If you're in Mumbai or Delhi or Kolkata, Chennai, Hyderabad, over a weekend, you have 40 avenues of recreation that you can go for as a family or with your friends or whatever. But in tier 2, tier 3 India, they're far fewer. And that's why I think that the growth of this sector will be propelled by tier 2 India, by small town India, or what we call Bharat today. And I hope to see that being a great driver for the economy and this sector. Thank you.
Okay. Pawan ji, you want to go?
Yeah, I want to conclude in very short that with judicial decision, this business is a very lucrative business, and one should go in for it. And one more thing, I just remembered why PVR is not making and why we are making. We are passionate about our business. Whereas I think PVR and all, they just want to make financial, they want to see the financial health of the company. We are passionate about our business. So that what makes a difference between a standalone cinema and these things. And I see no reason. There are obviously in every business, there are hiccups or you can say rumble strips. हिचकोले लगते हैं. As Akshay said in the starting that 2025 is going to be a very great year. So there are some years which may be bleeding us, but there will be many years which will give us a good profit. So if you see the average income, you'll see it is a good. It can give you good returns.
Great.
Thank you.
Raj,
Yeah, I would say whether a new investment should be made into screens, single or multiplex, either ways. थोड़े pluses है why it is profitable is why it may continue to be profitable is there's a large gap of demand and supply. लाखों लोग देखना चाहते मूवी and they would like to watch it on the first day or second day and third day. That's it. उतना capacity है नहीं. तो they are going on to the fourth day, fifth day. लेकिन memory audience का memory कम है. मतलब fifth day there's a danger of him forgetting. So that means there's a huge demand है जो I mean supply कम है. तो एक नया screens आना चाहिए. And then also with new technology, AI समझो, graphics समझो, movie making is going to become easier and easier as it is being mentioned. So more movies will be coming, more blockbuster level movies also could be coming, right? In their own format. And हफ्ते को एक मूवी आएगा, हफ्ते को एक 3-4 साल बाद हफ्ते को एक पुष्पा टाइप ऑफ मूवी आए तो भी I mean not हफ्ते को महीने को एक आए तो भी it's good. And from the cinegoer side there's a huge demand, so can go ahead and invest. Only one thing which troubles me from the investment being a successful investment is that from the stepmotherly treatment from the industry itself. जैसे कि एक मल्टीप्लेक्स के नॉट एग्जैक्टली बगल में पवन जी लेकिन थोड़ा दूर में भी है तो आज इंडस्ट्री वहां पे पिक्चर नहीं दे रही है. लुक एट अदर नहीं दे रही है बिकॉज ऑफ एप्रीहेंशंस. बिकॉज एक बार अनुराग कश्यप
apprehension, then they start asking for a minimum guarantee.
हाँ ये पूरा आ रहा है. तो इंडस्ट्री लेवल स्टेप मदरली ट्रीटमेंट जो दूसरे इंडस्ट्रीज में नहीं है. जैसे कि एक बार अनुराग कश्यप जी कह रहे थे, एक बार अनुराग कश्यप जी कह रहे थे कि the distributor is deciding which theater should be run, etc., which is not good some 4 years ago, 3 years ago. So that's what I feel. And then एक example देता हूँ, एम्प्रो ग्लूकोज बिस्किट और एनी अदर प्रोडक्ट, कंज्यूमर प्रोडक्ट, एक दुकान में है तो दूसरे में नहीं रहता क्या? हर एक दुकान में रहता है. आपका पिक्चर बना सर हर एक थिएटर में दो, ऑडियंस को छोड़ो कौन कौन देखता है.
मोर ओवर आई वांट टू ऐड टू दिस, अगर हमको वो बिस्किट नहीं पसंद आया तो हम रिटेलर को कहेंगे अपना बिस्कुट पकड़ो बदल के दूसरा दो. राइट. लेकिन आपका प्रोडक्ट अभी डब्बा खुला नहीं है, जिसे हम पुराने में कहते थे कि डब्बा अभी खुला नहीं है, एंड आप उसकी मिनिमम गारंटी हमसे मांग रहे हैं. Until the value of the product is judged, how are you asking a guarantee or a price of that product?
तो इसका यस सर एब्सोल्युटली पवन जी. तो इसका आप मैं एक पिक्चर देता हूँ अभिषेक जी. कयामत से कयामत तक में आमिर खान चाकू लेके मार लाता ना, वैसी छे अपना इंडस्ट्री का स्टोरी. ये बदलना चाहिए यार. स्कोप तो बहुत है.
Okay. This has been an enlightening conversation. I think people who want to open movie theaters, who want to get into this business, this is a masterclass from these gentlemen. And if you really want to learn the business, this will help you go a very, very, very long way. आपने सारी चीजों पे चर्चा की, मल्टीप्लेक्स, सिंगल स्क्रीन्स, रेवेन्यू सोर्सेज, and we have tried to give you a very clear picture. The unanimous decision is that you should be getting into this business because this business has a very bright future. India is one of the most underscreened markets in the world with the maximum number of films being consumed in a year. And so the potential is huge. It's a film crazy country with huge stars which are like the number one, number two, number three in the world in terms of our pull, etc. We need more screens. We need fresh ideas. We need people to invest in this business. That's the unanimous decision by my colleagues and my friends. We've put it all out for you. I hope you enjoyed this session, and we look forward to another engaging session next time whenever we are together. So thank you, gentlemen, and thank you, viewers, and I hope you've had an enriching time. Thank you.
Thank you for
Bye,
having
guys.
us.
Catch up. Yeah,
Bye.
thank you for having us.
Thank you.